Welcome back. Sunrise continues. This time we're discussing the social investment program of government. Now, it's an initiative aimed at reducing poverty and improving livelihoods of vulnerable groups such as the unemployed, women, and children. The components of the SIP include N-Power, homegrown school feeding, conditional cash transfer, government enterprise and empowerment program, the government enterprise and empowerment program, an interest-free credit scheme for micro and small enterprises that lack access to formal credit. Now, these schemes involve the disbursement of cash to a broad base of Nigerians and aim to increase the throughput of payment as well as promote financial inclusion. Well, this is what the social investment program is about. How effective has it been? A couple of years down the line, would we say we're on course? Would we get there? How quickly can we get to that point of, how do we put it now, reducing poverty and improving livelihoods? To help us understand this, we have one of the special assistants to the president, attached to the office of the vice president, Mr. Laolu Akande, joins us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. So it's a couple of days to independence. I'm sure you are following the conversation we're having here with the three girls. Let me start you off from there, and we'll get down to the social investment program. Would you say this nation is on course, and why would you say that?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, clearly, the direction that our country is headed, particularly in the last 3 years, is the right direction. And to the extent that we are focusing on the important issues, to the extent that we are making the right plans, to the extent that we are addressing infrastructure, to the extent that we are creating social safety net, to the extent that we are trying to diversify the economy, to the extent that we are trying to fight corruption, corrosive as it were, I will say to you very clearly that we are in the right direction. And even though we may not be able to say that we are there, we are headed to where we ought to be heading.
Okay, let's begin to look at SIP. Let's begin to break it down, you know. Talk to us about the N-Power.
Yes. So the N-Power is a program that was designed, you know, just like you had appropriately introduced it. It's one of the social investment schemes of the Buhari administration. And the idea behind the N-Power is to provide some kind of stopgap opportunities for Nigerian graduates, whether they are graduates of university, polytechnics, or colleges of education. You know, as long as they are not more than 35 years old. We have this scheme where everybody has access to. You know, you don't have to know anybody. All you got to do is to apply. There is an aptitude test that is conducted, and the selection is made. Now, so today we have 500,000 of such otherwise unemployed graduates who are working all across this country in all the 36 states of the Federation, the 774 local government areas that we have. They are working either as teachers, agricultural extension assistants, or, you know, as community health assistants. So the idea is to engage these graduates in a 2-year program where they get a stipend of 30,000 naira. They also have a device, you know, like an iPad, where they are exposed to all kinds of skills, knowledge, information that can empower them, that can improve them, that can bring them to a point of self-actualization and actually prepare them for life, even beyond the 2-year program. So that is what N-Power is doing, and based on the testimonies of the beneficiaries that are all over the place, it is not only one of the largest, you know, graduate employment scheme in the continent. It is also a scheme where, for the first time, you know, Nigeria can have that huge number of people, you know, employed in a scheme, you know, in a very seamless way, but also in a very transparent, credible, and something that you can audit, you can cross-check it. You don't have to know anybody, you don't have to have any contact, you just have to be a Nigerian who is a graduate.
So, Mr. Akande, they earn 30,000 naira a month over a period of 2 years. What happens to them after 2 years?
Yes, so that's the whole point. Like I said, we wanted to have some kind of a stopgap a measure, considering the problem of unemployment. We thought, why not let's, try to deal with university graduates who can actually bring value. They can bring value in their local government. They can bring value teaching in the primary schools, in the secondary schools, and while they are also bringing those value, even working as agricultural extension officers, as community health workers, we are also exposing them to other skills. We are exposing them to knowledge. We are trying to prepare them, to become, number one, more employable. Oftentimes, people don't get a job because they say that, oh, well, you don't have an experience. So you can take care of that. You can discover for yourself what else you can do. For instance, we have quite a number of the Empower beneficiaries today who have actually started business. You'll be surprised that,
can you just
30,000.
Can you hold your thoughts, Mr. Akande? We need to take a quick break and we'll come back to continue the conversation. You're the one that took. Welcome back. We still have the Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Publicity, Laolu Akande, talking to us on the Social Investment Program. Mr. Akande, before we went on that break, my colleague asked a question as regards what happens to those participating in the Empower program after 2 years. What if you don't get a job?
So, like I was trying to explain, that the whole idea of the 2-year employment program is to first and foremost, provide some kind of stopgap. Normally, it's the private sector, working around the economy with the government, creating the necessary, conducive environment that will create jobs, and that is going to happen. But we thought that in the time being, we need to engage some of these people, considering the level of unemployment. So I was explaining that number one, the program itself gives people, these graduates, an opportunity to do some work, to contribute to their communities, to garner some experience. Number two, by the nature of the scheme, they are exposed to new knowledge, they are exposed to new ideas, they are exposed to new skills. I spoke about the device that they have that has all this information. We are trying to do some training, some retraining to make them even more employable. And number three, I was going to say that we have several instances of some of these Empower beneficiaries who have even started business. Some have started fishing, some have started poultry, some have started farming, with the little money that they're making, which tells us clearly that the idea and our purposes are actually working out. So we do expect that in 2 years, these people will have become more experienced, more employable, and certainly some of them will even be ready to go and become an MSME or start some business or do something for themselves, even while we also expect the economy to have picked up and create more jobs. But whatever it is, I can assure you that we are going to stick with each and every one of our Empower beneficiaries to make sure that after the program, they will do well.
Feel that this SIP program is too ambitious. For instance, let's look at the budgeting, for instance. In 2017, a budget of 500 billion naira was made for the SIP, but only 140 billion was disbursed. In 2016, so you had 80 billion disbursed out of 500 billion rather. So in 2 years, you have 220 billion disbursed out of the budgeted 1 trillion naira. How do you think this could ever be achieved as desired, as you say, by government, if you can't get the funds to run it?
Well, Delta, these are just practical problems. The important point is that this government has shown the commitment that we believe that a big chunk of Nigeria's resources, has to be spent, to create a social safety net, to ensure that the people who are not getting along are brought in. Okay, that is why we have all the schemes of the SIP, and we budget for it. We say, oh, we think we should be spending this much. We think we should be spending on an annual basis half a trillion naira. But because of the scarcity of resources, of funds, the money not coming in as we hope it will, the income of government not doing as well as we think it should, so we've not been able to spend as much as we intend to. But that doesn't mean that we won't continue to spend as much as we can in a given budget year. Because, you see, even with the little that we have managed to spend, I can say to you now that we have impacted the life of about 9 million Nigerians. As a matter of fact, over 9 million Nigerians, close to 10 million Nigerians whose lives have been impacted positively by this four schemes. Now, this few months before the end of this year, we intend to touch new 2 million petty traders, bringing them into the financial infrastructure by getting them 10,000 naira collateral-free, interest-free loans to be able to take their businesses, their trading, their small trades to the next level.
If I may
comment, the important thing is that the Buhari administration is concerned about everyday Nigerians, the common Nigerians, the people that are otherwise outside of prosperity, to bring them in. And even though the resources are not coming in as we expect, we continue to plan and hope that we can spend more.
Okay, Mr. Akande, the question of compliance then comes in. How compliant are those that are absorbing this graduate? I'm using the NPower program now as an example. How compliant are they? If you want to look at the school feeding program, about the level of food that's taken to the schools, those that are supplying the food, is it quality food? Is it at the rate it should be? So compliance comes into question, because there are those who are concerned about mechanisms in place to ensure that people do not fall short of the quality desired.
Okay, thank you, Neta. So let's talk about the homegrown school feeding, which is the example that you gave about the compliance. Now, before we start the homegrown school feeding program in a state, we bring together the stakeholders. We bring the schools, the teachers, the parents, the farmers, and we do a checklist. They check the quality of the food, they check the hygienic conditions, and several other things that has to come into play. So until we are satisfied, that everybody is, there's consensus about what is being done, we don't start the program. So I say that to say this, that the quality of the food, the quality of the environment, the quality of the preparation, all of these things are being diligently considered and taken care of as we implement it. So we give them protein. It's balanced diet. They have protein. They eat egg. There is moi moi. And of course there's carbohydrate. So the quality is well taken care of, and the government is not just doing it by itself.